Okay, step 7, welcome back. Okay, so it passed inspection. Whatever you needed to have happen, either you did it before the offer was written, so inspection is not a problem, or you did it after it was written and it's been passed. So the 150 things, and you successfully negotiated the waiver of the inspection contingency. So you've successfully done that work. So they've done all the repairs they're going to do. You've had it re-inspected. You're good. Now comes the appraisal. The appraisal you're also going to pay for. That's another $300 or $400. That's coming out of your pocket. And you have even less say about this because your lender can't talk to the appraiser and you can't talk to the appraiser. It's not someone you get to talk to. The appraiser is protecting the bank. What does the appraiser do? The appraiser is they're not going to look at the inspection report. They're only going to report what they can see for the naked eye. So if there's a leak in the roof and you can only see it from the attic space, the appraiser is not going to know about it. They're not going to see the the seller disclosure, the Form 17. They're just not. They're going to come through the house, spend 15, 20 minutes at the house, and then they're going to go back to their office and they're going to pull comparable properties or comps, and they're going to adjust for the size and the age and the neighborhood, and they're going to tell the bank, yes, this house is worth the money you wrote the loan for, or no, it's not worth the money you wrote the loan for. It's going to tell the lender how much the lender can get for the house if the lender had to resell it. It makes sense, right? The lender's lending you $500,000 on a house. They got to make sure the house is worth $500,000, all right? Now, there's a bunch of different pieces about this. A, you wouldn't call for an appraisal until inspection was passed. Until you've gotten past the inspection contingency, don't spend $300 on an appraiser until you know that the house meets inspection. Because if the house doesn't meet inspection, why, you don't need the appraisal. You're getting out of the deal, but you still had to pay for it. So don't have your realtors call for the appraisal until after inspection. The other thing is, the appraisal, the biggest weight that the appraiser uses is the market value of the house. And the market value of the house is what you paid for it. You paid market value. Why? Because you're the market. If there were 11 offers and the thing bid up $100,000, that's the new market price. It doesn't mean the bank can justify it, but that's a big piece of the weight of the price. So you don't want to get freaked out if you're, whatever, mostly, the appraisal will come in right at the amount you paid. It doesn't mean your house is worth exactly that much. It just means, because if you paid $5,000 less, it would have come in exactly at that. And maybe if you paid $5,000 more, it would have come in exactly at that. It's rare that it's a very narrow, they just give it to you, okay? But if it doesn't come in at value, in other words, you paid $500,000 for the house and the house only appraises at $420,000. That's an $80,000 gap. That's a big gap, okay? Well, what does that mean? It means the bank's only cutting you a check for $420,000 less your down payment. And that means the seller ain't getting $500,000 unless you can make up the difference, unless you've already agreed to make up the difference. And that happens quite often in a bidding war, because if you're not willing to make up the difference between the appraised value and the price you paid, it's very unlikely that they're going to accept a high offer. In other words, if the house is on the market for $450,000 and you offer $550,000, but you're not saying to them, you know what, I don't care what it appraises at, I'm going to make up the difference between the $450,000 and the $550,000. If you're not saying that to the seller, well, you might as well offer $800,000. Offer $1 million. What do you care? It's not going to appraise for $1 million, and you're just going to tell them when they're done, when the appraiser's done, say, oh, didn't appraise, I'm out. So they're not going to accept some wild high offer unless you, as the buyer, are willing to make up the difference between what you offer and what it appraises at. This comes into play in sellers' markets all the time. It's almost never an issue in a buyer's market. In a buyer's market, if you offered, in a buyer's market, they put it on the market for $450,000, you'd probably pay $440,000 because it's a buyer's market, you negotiated it down. Now, if it doesn't appraise, suppose now they put it on for $450,000, you paid $440,000 and it only appraises at $430,000. Great, well, it's a buyer's market. You go back to the seller and you go, you know what, Mr. Seller, house only appraised for $430,000. I can't get a loan for $440,000. I'm only going to get a loan for $430,000. So how do you want to work out the $10,000? Because it's not coming out of my pocket. And then you have your realtor shut up. And you see what the seller says. Mostly the seller will either come down a little bit, but given you want the house, it's not like something you just casually offer on, you do want the house, good. So you'll split the difference with them, or they'll make it all up, or whatever, but it's a third negotiation oftentimes. But that only happens in a buyer's market. In a seller's market, you should have been prepared to actually make up the difference inside your offer, to match whatever the appraiser says versus your offer. Make up that difference. Some of that difference is likely to have been negotiated up front. But in the meantime, just to summarize, the appraiser's job is to protect the bank's loan. And they will come up with their number independently of whatever you say, think, or do. Okay? And you're stuck with that appraisal. Okay? And you paid for it. That's just how that works. Okay? So that's that step. Good luck meeting appraisal and getting past that contingency. See you over in step 8.